Welcome to the lab. We're doing an electric vehicle conversion on this 700 horsepower K12 March. Someone's already called the police on me for such a travesty. Of course we're not doing an EV conversion. We are getting a new lens for this camera very shortly, by the way. Excuse the images. That pump there is running. That's for the intercooler system. So that's being filled up with water at this point in time. It's not that one. It's that one. And that one. My bad. So I've just fired up the pump, filled it up, leave it running for a bit. Make sure we don't have any leaks. And then turn the pump off and leave it for a bit and have another look. It's a pretty simple system. We should be right. There's no leaks beyond there. There's no welds or anything. It's just a couple of hoses onto the intercooler, so that's easy. We've just got to join there, join there, join there. I'm not sure why I did that one, but there's a join there. And a couple on this one up here. So we just keep an eye on those, make sure they're alright. Then we'll do the same for the engine cooling system. So for those of you who've been watching everything going on the scales and thinking about weights and stuff like that, about 10 litres of water in the intercooler system. So about 10 kgs there. Plus the weight of the radiator. I'm not sure what that weighs. Probably 12 kgs, something like that. And a pump. It's got to be another couple. Plus the tank, another few hundred grams, a kg maybe. Plus the actual intercooler itself, which is heavy. That is a beast of a thing, and unfortunately it's in the back of the car. All up, I'm going to guesstimate there's probably something in the range of 40 kgs maybe of intercooler system. That's why I'm thinking maybe, depending on how these pulsar turbos go, they may generate a lot less heat. We might get away with a couple of air-to-air intercoolers tucked in the side panels there, so we might be able to do a duct here and put the intercoolers here. Yeah, all the weight will be in the back, but I think we'll possibly be significantly lighter overall, which is okay. So while that's doing its thing, I'm going to fill up the radiator cooling system now. Let's see, I'm pretty sure that takes about 30 litres actually, quite a lot. Just a slight overestimation on how much cooling fluid goes into the engine cooling system, more like 15 litres. Probably actually slightly even less than that perhaps, although to be fair it's not 100% bled up at the moment. Put in the old drink bottles to good use there. That's on there to pressure test it soon. I can do it immediately, but we'll be doing that shortly. And I mean, you can see what I've done there. That's our free, apart from the piece of silicone, if it's a leftover it is free, our free funnel for doing this. And I talked to you yesterday about the hose that I wanted to make up and I didn't have the fitting. Crash bang, they did have that fitting. There it is there. That was in stock. There's that hose that goes up there, like I said. And I thought I had a firewall bulkhead fitting. If you open that fast, it doesn't make the horrible noises. I thought I had a firewall bulkhead fitting so I could put a bracket on the firewall there and mount that nicely, but I don't have one. I've only got a union, so it's something that I might have to do. At the moment it's only finger tight. You crack that open eventually. Oh, it's got a bit of air in there at the moment. Wait for that to come out. There you go. Now I know that at least that part of the system is free, I'm going to use that term loosely, free of air. There is still some. Not sure if you could hear that. Agitate the system a little bit by pulsing it, pushing on the fittings. You can, the silicon couplers rather, you can hear the air moving around the system. So that hasn't been started yet, so it's not bled up at all. It's just relying on the tiny little hole in the top of the thermostat and the pressure from the water pump circulating it to try and clear any water out. Ideally all I want to do is check the main pipes underneath the vehicle and make sure they're not leaking. So I'll do that now. Just randomly had Split ends playing 6 months in a leaky boat on the radio. That's quite ominous really when we're looking for leaks. We're doing alright. Like, I was a bit pessimistic saying I'm sure I'll have a leak somewhere. I mean, I should be able to weld bits of aluminium tube without leaks by now, shouldn't I? It appears we have been successful there. Good. With no pressure, obviously. Well, gravity and the pump, whatever the pump is providing. Hang on. So I better turn that off before we get done for breach of copyright or some such thing. Great Kiwi band, I'm sure they wouldn't mind. A couple up there to have a look at, or one at least. No, we're good. She's looking alright. 1, 2. Did I speak too soon? We're good. So I'm going to put 14 psi in it. That's the radiator pressure, radiator cap pressure. I don't want to put too much in or you can damage the radiator core. So we'll do that. We'll turn the pump off when we do that and we'll test it, see how we go. But that's looking pretty positive. Okay, we do have a leak in the most ridiculous of places. There's just a straight pipe in between those two elbows. Obviously a hose clamp's not tight enough. But that's it. That's everything else is kosher. There's a little bit of water on the floor back there. That's from when I opened up that breather at the top. Been around, had a look at everything. It's all kosher. So that's good. We don't have to repair any leaks on any of our pipes. So we can rule that off. When we take it all apart, put it back together, there's nothing to do with that stuff. Maybe polish it all up, I guess, or anodize it or something like that. Yay. Well, I think I've probably got 5 minutes and the neighbours will complain, so I better not leave it running too long. It does need to get up to 10. See the water level is rising in the funnel there, so it's putting some temp in it. Should be a bit of smoke back here at some point, I would imagine. A lot of condensation, a little bit of a blue. I probably should move this. A little bit of a blue tinge to it, but that's fine. We're going to expect that. No massive leaks or anything, bit of heat coming out of here now, so that's good. Exhaust feels hot. Both sides. I've checked all the gauges and everything. Start seeing smoke on manifolds and CRC on them and all that sort of stuff. Pretty normal. Should hear those pulsar turbos start to whistle soon, maybe. Okay, that's all been pretty successful. Just letting it all cool down, just trying to figure out how much water actually expands and comes out of the radiator and goes back in when it cools down. So the expansion rate for the system, I guess you'd call it. It might be a case of the overflow tank that normally lives here probably is going to live somewhere else this time around. It may have actually been too small for what we were doing, and just the sheer temperature change and the expansion of the fluids in the system was actually overflowing that bottle, and then it couldn't pull it all back in because some of it's fallen out of the car. So I'm just double checking on that. If we were just doing things like drag racing perhaps, and that was all, then I'd be inclined to take that tube, stick it into the intercooler coolant tank, because the car's not going to run for a prolonged period of time. It won't have enough time to have any effect on it for its runs and stuff. But because it's a track car, when the fluid in here expands, you've got, say, 80 to 90 degrees C fluid coming out of here and going into there, mixing with your fluid that you want as cold as possible for your intercooler system. Not really a good idea. Not a good idea at all. So there'll be another tank somewhere. I'll figure out where I'm going to put it and move along. I could do a big panel that sits in here. Couldn't I put a cap on it here and a fitting down there, and that will deflect the hot air from the fan away from the... That's not a silly idea. That would look pretty cool. So, a couple of people... Hang on. A couple of people have asked how the... Oh, what did they call it? It's a different name. The Barina. How's the Barina going? Well, let's go for a drive and get some roll cage tube, and then it'll be going real good. Sorted. We've got our 44.1 main hoop tube just there. That's the fat one. And we've got 3 lengths of 38.1. Some of that might be for the March. We'll see. This is where this roll cage tube is actually made. Hamilton here. So you can see the big coils of... We zoom in. We can zoom in. Can't see much from here. Big coils of steel in there that get turned into tube. They roll it. It's a seamless weld, I think they call it. So that's us. It's got a certificate and all that sort of carry on. You guys will like this ute, won't you? Those of you who haven't seen it. I should put a link to that. Right, let's get home before that gets nastier. Or fuel pump makes too much noise, doesn't it? Oil drained, not all of it, like I say, just most of it. We'll flush out the thicker, yuckier stuff, and we'll fit the thinner, yummier stuff. What a messy bench. Again, need to clean that up. So, had a good look at that. Looks fine. A lot of people panic when an engine's been rebuilt. They see the tiniest little specks of metal in there. Oh no, it's rubbish. It's got to be rebuilt. Send it back to the engine rebuilder. There's there's going to be some metal in there. Not heaps. You don't want to see any big bits. You don't want to see lots and lots of metal. A tiny little bit is absolutely, totally, 100% fine and normal. To be expected. So, drained all the water out of it, pulled the most as much of the water out of it as I can, pulled the bung out of the side of the block. It's up here somewhere to drain the block, drain the radiator, and there will be some water in these pipes here because it's higher at this end and it's higher over the top there, so you expect that that would be actually pretty much full through there. I will drain that out at some point. You can't have it sitting around too long with just straight water in it. You will get corrosion and stuff. So, I mean, it'll take a little bit of time before it's a big problem, but I'll put some antifreeze in it, flush that through the system. Maybe tomorrow, depends on what I'm up to, and then drain that out so that anything that's left behind does have antifreeze in it at least. I still need to finish our diffuser, don't we? Get on with that soon, and some exhaust tube mounts. Awesome. Good day's progress, I reckon. Thanks for watching. Cheers, bye.